All right, I see 6 o'clock, so we'll go ahead and
But I
call
didn't
this to order with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, I'll go ahead and call roll call. We'll start with Guy,
Here.
Ken,
Here.
Nate,
Here.
and Jeff is here. Is Brent online?
No.
Okay, we'll note Brent absent, but with 4 of us, we'll go ahead and call quorum and get this thing going. All right, so we have one public comment. So Cody, I'll invite you to speak for your 3 minutes.
Thank you. So last month, I presented, along with a couple other people, the petition against the gender identity curriculum. The response was met with a bunch of kind of sad stories about bullying related to homosexuality and stuff, and that was nothing at all that our side was in support of. It was kind of a sleight of hand argument. It didn't really respond to any of the stuff that we're against. It was arguing a different point, and I don't think anybody's in favor of bullying. Unfortunately, we weren't able to respond to that. So I looked into the gender identity curriculum a little bit more, and I see mention of a specific identity called agender, which I'm learning is a human being's ability to abstain from having any gender, which I thought was kind of ridiculous to me. I don't see how that's biologically possible for a human being. I don't know why we'd be teaching kids that that's something that they could potentially identify as. I recognize maybe the school's not telling people they should or shouldn't be a certain thing, but I don't see how that, like a fictional theory, would be at all beneficial to teach kids, as if it's real. So then I drafted an email on the 28th of June to each school board member. 5 school board members I sent an email to. I received 1 response. 4 I did not receive a response from. 18 days ago, the email was sent. So I'm here, I'm asking, do you believe that that is an identity that a person could identify as? Is that realistic to tell a person that they can have no identity or no gender? They can abstain from gender. Is that something you believe? That is my question.
Yeah, so from my perspective, typically the board doesn't respond to public comment. This is just for you to be able to talk to the board. This topic has been presented both to the board, to the education committee, and then to the board again. There was a full committee that each provided kind of their feedback, so I think the board considers this topic decided upon and decision.
So for communication, I guess, just from my understanding, communication to school board members, what is an appropriate way to do that? I thought email would be the most reasonable.
I think email is a reasonable, but I think your comment was your email was pointed to bring up something that was a decisioned and closed topic, rather than something that we could do something about in the future, right? So it was something that we had already heard opinions from both sides, and we had decisioned that.
And it was decided that I would receive just not even any sort of response. Like, I wouldn't have to come here and ask this question in person. I could receive an email response. I didn't receive an email response.
I sent you an email.
I did. One of the 5 emails was responded to. I acknowledge it, and I appreciate that you did that. And I look forward to talking further with you. So thank you for that. But I received no other response, and it was very disappointing that I'm obviously passionate about a topic, and even whether you agree with me or not is completely indifferent, but I'm receiving no response at all from a passionate parent about something. You know, it's a little frustrating, I guess, that I wouldn't even be recognized as somebody who has an opinion about something. So I guess that's what I'm here to say. We're not asking questions is what I'm learning, and emails maybe sometimes won't be responded to if you don't want to or whatever it is, but this is what I'm here to talk about. So I appreciate your time.
I appreciate you taking the time.
Cody, one thing I would tell you, I got the email, I read it, but when you were here the last time, it was kind of decided that we passed the agenda, and that's why I didn't respond, because I thought, well, it's over. We had already passed it, but I personally do agree with some of the things you said in there. But
I would say,
as a committee and everybody else, you know, the majority kind of spoke on this. And to some of the people that got up and spoke, you're correct. They weren't about really what you were commenting on. Your 3 minutes weren't what some of the other stuff was brought about, but that's why I didn't comment back, because I just figured it was said and done already.
Thank you.
Thank you, Cody. All right, we will move on to Celebrate Fall River.
I have Mr. D here, and Mr. D brought a student in for us this month, who is a contest winner, Mr. Doolittle. Come on up, Melanie.
So, as one of the things that we do in fourth grade, and we always get an opportunity to submit some things for the Columbia County. So, we've been doing this, Mr. Verrier and Mr. Miller, Keith Miller, as part of the board. And so he's been, asking us to do this. So we've been doing this probably about 12 years. And Mallory took it upon herself to go home, because this was not an assignment where, okay, you have to do it. It's something that you can do above and beyond. So I would like her to, can you go around? And I'll just continue talking. But she took upon herself to go home, and I think that Mr. Verrier asked her, well, what gave you an idea? So, what did you tell him?
We had to represent something that is about Columbia County.
Right. And so she won this contest, which is fantastic. So it's the Columbia County, Wisconsin official directory. And her artwork is, as you can see there, and we'll probably in the school board minutes and stuff like that, but is pretty fantastic, where she went home and drew all of these little part of the Columbia County. It was fantastic. The detail that she brought into this project was pretty extensive. So, Mallory, thank you so much for doing this.
Congratulations.
thank you.
Good job, Mallory.
That's right. That's awesome.
Thank you, Mr. Doolittle. Thank you, Mallory. Good job.
Thanks for coming in tonight.
Thank you.
All right, well, it's always nice to have Celebrate Fall River in the summer. All right, so in our packets, we had the meeting minutes from the June 18th school board meeting. So having reviewed, do we have any questions or any discussions on said minutes? Then I will take a motion to approve.
I didn't get that.
I'll make a motion.
Again.
My bad.
I'll make a motion to approve the school board meeting minutes for June 18th, 2025.
There's a motion by Nate. Was that seconded
Yep,
by
I'll
Ken?
second. Yep.
All right, all those in favor, vote aye. Aye. All those opposed. All right, motion passes. We will move on to a treasurer's report.
So the treasurer's report this month is the hardest one to compare because the one column is the final after audit, and this year, we haven't had the audit yet. So this is the hardest one to say, here's where we stand. Every other one is kind of where we are at that month, but the audit starts Monday. We've been submitting documents for them so they can come in and start working on Monday. We've been spending a lot of time, especially Colleen and Andrea, getting them stuff. And I sent 3 documents right before the board meeting tonight too, so that they have some stuff to deal with. By the next board meeting, we should have a fairly good idea where that came up. We won't get a report till probably November or so. I have lots of other financial things to talk about when we get to the referendum report and we get to the budget adoption. So I'll give you much more information at that time about other things.
Historically, have we made a lot of adjustments as a result of the audit?
There's always about 10, 12. The biggest one has to be the special ed transfer. We don't do that ourselves until they verify these are all the Fund 27 expenditures, all Fund 27 revenues, all the grants are claimed, which we had submitted all the grants in the last week, because we have to make sure that that number is exact. So it's typically like $700,000-800,000 that got to be transferred from Fund 20 to Fund 27 from Fund 10. That's the biggest one. And there's always a few other things that they say, well, maybe this should be recorded this way, or we didn't record this as receivable or something. Usually about 10, 12 of them, and there's been less the last couple of years than the first couple of years I was here. It's been cleaner each time, and Colleen and Andrew take pride in that we've got things done ahead of time.
Awesome. Thank you. Any questions for Dennis on that one? All right, well, with that, I will take a motion to accept the treasurer's report.
I'll put a motion forward, Jeff, to accept the treasury report.
We have a motion by Ken. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Seconded by Guy. All those in favor, vote aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? All right, moving on to payroll and vouchers. Again, in our packet, we had detail, and having reviewed, I will go ahead and make a motion to approve payroll for 7:30 and 8:15 and vouchers 427-873 through 427-976 and 2024-00639 through 2024-00707 and 242-500-065 through 242-500-078 in the amount of $759,687.79. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Motion by Jeff, seconded by Nate. All those in favor, vote aye.
Aye.
All those opposed. All right, we'll move on to the referendum reports.
I think Brian would like to share a little bit what's been going on. You've seen some things, and when he's done, then I'll go through the paper that I showed you last month, and here it's updated for this month. But Brian, you want to share a little bit what's been going on?
Sure. So I'm sure you saw when you went by the glass that the pool's almost done. I was a little surprised. I didn't think that we were quite in that deep. But the good news is that after they cut it open, the shell of the pool is actually in really nice shape. And 100% of the plumbing is being replaced, along with all the electrical for the lights and boxes for the lights and the whole works. So I'm really optimistic that we're looking for a long-term, we have a long-term left in our pool. I would think, it's gonna be as good as new. So when it's all complete. You might have noticed the little daylight shining in. We quickly realized with the amount of work we're looking at pumping concrete in and such, that we were gonna destroy quite a bit of the school coming in whichever direction. So we did have a hole cut in the side that we're gonna put a door in. So for the future, there is a service door there now to be able to service the pool as well as right now. Excited about two of the projects that are complete. One being the bus barn. If you've driven by them, I hope you've noticed the difference. Pretty excited about that one as well as the parking lot. So I think both of those projects went as close to right on par as we expected. So if you have any, I don't know if you have any questions either, but.
No, it's good to see them. It's good to see them get done, especially the parking lot now. I know everyone's kind of still getting used to the traffic pattern, and so it's good while traffic is light, let everyone kind of get ready for the new direction.
Ease into it, but
Yeah.
I do think that exit is gonna help a ton, so.
Yep.
I didn't walk by, Brian. Are they doing anything on the bathrooms yet? No.
This summer, we're working on since it's right next to the pool, working on those bathrooms and locker rooms. The old pool locker rooms that
Yep.
we use for existing visitor.
Okay.
So that's part of, we actually added the epoxy bid will actually, part of that is to epoxy the bathrooms and the showers in those two rooms, as well as update all the plumbing fixtures to make that a usable, clean space that we don't have to be afraid to show people.
Okay. The other bathrooms up in the elementary and by my office and up by the gym, those are on this sheet scheduled for this fiscal year, probably spring, summer, more likely. So the pool is part of the capital referendum, and this sheet is the operating referendum. Any questions before I go to the sheet?
The only thing, will there be like, obviously what it was quoted at and then what the final cost was, just to know that it came within what the budget was, if there was money saved, if there was money?
Oh, okay, like on this first year, 485 is what we had budgeted for this year.
No, I'm just talking about each project
Oh,
specifically.
each project
Yeah,
specifically?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I can give you a rundown on what I have here so far.
okay.
Where-
It doesn't have to be, it doesn't have to be tonight, but just maybe something going forward, that the parking lot was 168, 435, it came in at 168, 435, or, the bus barn was 75, whatever
Yeah,
whatever that number was, bus barn was 56,000, it came in at 56,000.
And a great example is the van, right? Because early we had that as a bus, which was a much higher budget item, and so.
yeah, and some of these, like the van, originally we had it 70, because we thought we were doing more, actually, we thought we were doing a bus, so
Yeah.
we had a bigger number, so we dropped that number and added stuff into that year to spend the 485.
Right.
The HVAC, that was, I think we had 200.
We came in right at budget
Yeah.
on the HVAC.
The van, then we thought was gonna end up being 40. The playground, we had 65 on it. The stage was, I think, 20 is what we expected. And the cabinets, we had a little bit more there for the first year. We dropped that amount to 53 to make it work. The parking lot, we had budgeted 170. Now, there still might be some extra lighting costs, so that probably will go over that. So 170 is what we had for the parking lot. The bus barn, we had more like 45. It did go up above that, so give you an idea where it ended up compared to what it had been.
The issue with the bus barn was the initial bids didn't realize that we couldn't drive anchors into the block because the block would shatter. And I don't know if we explained that necessarily. We ended up, the contractor had to drill and Tapcon all the 1x4s on. So there was a significant increase in labor to make that a long-term solution.
That would be the only thing I would say, like, stuff like that, where, I bid work all the time, that's not my fault. That's not our fault that he didn't figure, just where that cost kind of goes is where, where that money goes is, it's stuff like that. I'm not saying it's a bad thing or a good thing, but I can come in with a low bid, be the best thing, and then all of a sudden say, well, but I didn't tap con, or I didn't know this, I didn't know that.
Well, it was a little different situation than that. We had a guy come and just look at it and give a rough idea for referendum planning. And then when that contractor actually turned away from the job when they realized the scope of it, so they never gave us a formal bid. So I ended up having to go out and find other contractors that were willing to do that work. Once we realized that the scope was larger than what the original estimates would be.
Okay.
Speaking of those kind of things, we met today with the Findorf and with PRA, the architects, and we're relatively about where the budget was supposed to be. There's a huge contingency amount that this got to be fine-tuned to see if they need that contingency or not. If they don't need a contingency, we'd probably be under budget. If they need all the contingency, we'd probably be right at the top of the 8.7 that we had put out there. But they're going to D&D here in a few weeks. You know what D&D is? Explain it to me, maybe. But the actual bidding will probably be November. They want to have the bids accepted by the board in January, and they're hoping late March, early April is when they start breaking ground out here. So that's kind of a timeline for you guys. We've spent a lot of time today looking at what's important, what's necessary. Is there any place we don't need to do what was originally thought, or they've looked at the engineering and found there's different ways to do things. So we thought we were really pretty close to on budget at this point. There's a lot of soft costs that they say. There's another sheet of things that we have to look at, and one of those is furniture. We started looking at with a furniture rep today to start kind of getting ready to bid for furniture for the new addition. And there's furniture on this list here too that we could use in the mostly the middle school, high school. So all those plans are in the works, and we are kind of on target at this point. The other point I want to point out in this sheet that I gave you is the hope was to have a cushion of $50,000 each year for unexpected expenses that happen pretty much every year, and $100,000 go to fund balance. Well, you can see in this year that number is $80,000 less than that, but we had additional staff expense that was more than that. So actually, we came out a little better than I would have thought. What I had the plan here originally, what I thought was going to happen, we actually are $15,000 better than I expected. I hadn't expected staffing on here, so it was really pretty much on target for what the money we had to spend in the second fiscal year of this operating referendum. So it came out really, really close. I was actually fairly pleased. When I get to the budget adoption, I'll explain to you a little bit more how that happens with the state budget that got adopted and signed by Governor Evers. It was about where I was kind of hoping it would end up being. So it was actually fairly positive news for us, I felt, in most areas. There's federal things going on that we have to still wait and see how they turn out, but at least we're in the ballpark where we hope to be.
Any update on the potential use of the church parking lot?
I talked to their interim pastor is now gone, and I talked to one of the gentlemen from the board, and he gave me his email, so I emailed him the document. He said, "Are you in a hurry?" Because they have a lot of transition stuff going on. I said, "It's not a hurry," but he said, we were going to be good with this. We just got to look at it, check with our lawyer and have action on it. So he seemed to be very positive that was going to be okay. And I talked to the gentleman on the corner, and I mailed him a copy of the first right of refusal that our lawyer drew up for us. So he has that in his hands. It's a matter of now, the next time I connect with him, so what do you think? Are you going to sign it? What do you want to do with it? But we have all those documents now from our lawyer into their hands.
Okay. Thank you. I know there's a lot going on, so I appreciate the update. Any other questions on referendum? All right. I don't think.
So far, so good on the referendum stuff. I'm pretty pleased about what you're seeing here. We're getting stuff done. And the biggest thing is we said we're going to do these things, and we're getting them done. So we're following through on what we said.
And I think to Nate's point, it is important to just continue to provide transparency that not only are we getting them done, but we're getting them done on budget, right? And yes, there will be things that exceed the budget, but there are also other areas that we are under budget and, keeping all those net so that it's not just a bunch of, costs that we didn't anticipate.
And certainly we don't want to get into Findorf and then, we have this here and that here and this here and it adds, and then, we get in the habit of just, okay, we're going to continue to go, and then we're at the end of the project and we forget, we forget that we spent, 100, whatever it may be. So I know we had talked about change orders and stuff like that, but I think it's just smart to know that, when something's being changed or there's a issue, they're the professionals and they're bidding the work, and although they don't have x-ray vision, they have a pretty darn good idea what they're getting into.
They did borings out here. You may have seen already. They did borings in the parking lot and behind there. So that part is being done so they understand the foundation of what's going to be built. So you may have seen that going on out there too.
Very good. Any other questions on referendum? All right, then we will move on to new business. I believe we have advisor pay schedule. Hello.
How's it going?
Let's talk to you a lot tonight.
Okay, so kind of like last month with our coaches' pay proposal, it hadn't been revisited for many years. With me being just over a year into this, I'm glad I was able to finally dig into this more. So this is our advisor's pay proposal, is what you have in front of you. This also has not been kind of revamped in a while. And there were some clubs that we kind of took out because we didn't do anymore, but there's also some clubs that we added, which I believe our educators and our teachers that are, going above and beyond what they're doing in the classroom deserve this extra pay and to be, So I put together, Jennifer and I helped with this, I put together this advisor pay proposal. It's very similar. The difference between what we were paying last year and what the proposal is, difference in pay is very similar to the coaches. There is one thing that I'm not sure is on yours. The Clay Target League, does yours still say 2,800? Okay, so after talking with Mark, he is appreciative of that, but he is also very willing to do a stipend. So I was able to bring that down to 1,000. So then the difference would be about 14,608 instead.
And sorry, I don't have, the one that was emailed, I thought there was a different adjustment to the fall play and the spring play. Did those get adjusted
They
since?
did, yep, so they should be on your guys' sheet as well.
Yeah,
With
second page, Jeff. Like the spring musical.
Yep, the spring musical's down there, so it says the hours that were 24, 25, and then it'll say the proposed hours for 25, 26. Spring musical was very similar, give or take. The one that went up was the fall play, just because last year was our first year bringing it back, so they know now how many hours actually go into it. And I think those were very old hours that were possibly from before, when they used to have it.
Okay.
Yep. And then the CTE, FFA, Skills USA, so we have 2 advisors for that. One also incorporates robotics too, but their hours are very similar. So I think one was at like 519 hours and one was at 521 hours. And these are all out of school hours. So worth working with them, we kind of came up with a stipend of 6,500 each. And that's very fair. But they do a lot for our students and I think they deserve that. If
A lot
not
of that
more.
summer hours, isn't it?
Hmm?
A lot of that summer hours?
It's just going through just out of time hours, out of school hours. Yeah, and I have, if you guys want, I did print those off for you guys too, so you can see those. Because I don't know that this was in the back. And it goes on the back sheet too. So those were kind of the biggest ones that made that jump up a little bit. We did also add in HOSA as a new club that we added in, and for this year, last year was kind of a test club. And we really thought that that's a good thing for the education, for the health organization, for those classes. And then, let's see, Interact Club, kind of, so Spanish Club got removed, Interact Club got brought on.
And we've had Interact Club since I got here. It just hadn't been a paid position. He was just voluntarily doing it.
And then powerlifting, Tim doesn't want anything, he's still good with that. Pep band went up, but he does a lot of out-of-time school activities with the kids, and I think it shows like how awesome our pep band is, so.
I mean, from my perspective, I think the areas that we saw go up the most, I would say like, we saw those get earned last year. You know, all those things like, you know, like just all the things the CTE people are already doing. All, you know, if you look at the work put in, when my daughter was in the fall play, I couldn't believe how much, you know, effort was involved in that. So, so yeah, I mean, I think, and obviously band, I don't think we ever see Mr. Keller not here. So,
Well, I mean, same with CTE, FFA skills, like.
exactly,
they're always
yeah.
here.
And with band, jazz band went down in the hours because more time is being put in for pep band, so there was a little bit more of a balance with that too.
The schools I've been in, like FFA, for instance, normally what we had is, let's say they got paid this amount of money for their contract to teach, and then they got a percentage of that for all the FFA stuff, which much of FFA is summer. There's a lot of when that stuff goes on. So instead of a stipend, they had a percent of their contract, which as the contract went up, then their summer pay went up too. This doesn't keep going up then. This is stable. But it probably, actually, this might be a little less than I think that we were paying in that way.
And with this too, in the case of someone else coming in and taking over this position in the future, if that happens, maybe they don't want to do as much as what we're doing right now, and I would revisit that with any new advisor, and then adjust accordingly.
And that is one of the,
For those students, so they're not leaving.
Yeah, they have to stay.
yeah, and Abby, I don't know if you mentioned this, I apologize if you didn't, I just didn't hear you. Like, she did reach out to the advisors and get the hours that they felt that they were working. Was it consistent? You know, what activities are you still doing? What activities are you not? Just to make sure that we were, you know, following those pieces.
Full descriptions, everything, so it was quite the undertaking. That's why it kind of took me a while to get it here, but I think this is a very accurate description of what our clubs all entail now and what we all offer and what our advisors all work hard to do outside of school.
Big fan of the clubs, and I know it takes a lot of work, so. Any further questions or discussion? All right, well, with that, I will take a motion to approve the advisor pay as proposed.
I'll make the motion to approve the advisor pay as is on the sheet.
So we have wow. Motion by Nate. Do I have a second?
I'll second, Jeff.
Second by Ken. All those in favor, vote aye. Aye. All those opposed. All right, we will move on to the co-curricular handbook.
Okay. So there are all the highlighted stuff, it might be highlighted and or crossed off. So there's new language that I put in for our athletic mission statement. The drill one was from Cody, so it was years ago, so I kind of revamped the mission statement for that. And then on page 3, I put in the new WIA's language on the name, image, and likeness, since that got passed this past summer. Because it was old in our old handbook, so I wanted to update that for everybody too, so everybody's on the same page as that. Let's see here. If you go to page 6, under eligibility for co-curricular participation, I did scratch that because I am not hosting a meeting this year, but I'm kind of collaborating with John Crombie about doing some things for the incoming 6th graders and incoming freshmen, about everything from high school sports, middle school sports, and what they should entail for the parents too. And then still on that page, I guess on top, the activities sanctioned under the code, I kind of made that more streamlined to what activities we had for our advisors pay and all the stuff that I got for that. So I did update some of those service clubs and the student enrichment and state sanctioned clubs as well. Page 7, responsibilities with the co-curricular participants. It was in there last year that you had to email the athletic director and the coach and tell them if you were taking somebody home from an away game. We have a transportation form that they now need to fill out and give to their coach that gives to me. So I hang on to them for the whole school year. If anything comes back, I have those on file.
It has to be filled out for each.
Yep, so if you were
Each one?
taking home your kid from a away game, they would fill it out on site and give it to the coach, and then the coach would hand it in.
Does the coach have those at games?
Mm-hmm.
Is it, yeah, they do. There's nothing you can do like on SportsU or anything where it's, I always feel bad for Chelsea where she's running around with paper, just any of the coaches, they're running around with papers trying to get kids to sign.
Yeah.
If they're making a decision to go home, typically that decision's made, before the game even starts. I just wonder, to save paper and all of that, if there was something on the app that you could create as a PDF or not, I don't know. I'm not asking you to.
Electronic waiver,
Yeah,
possibly. I think we added this in for insurance purposes of keeping track of who's leaving with who. I'm not sure if you can do
Yeah.
that on, like,
I don't know, it's not,
electronic waiver.
it's great, but I always feel bad for Chelsea because it's at the end of the game. Coaches either just won or lost.
Yeah,
People are trying to sign.
Well, and
Or the
last-
game's going on and people are trying to sign it,
Right.
and that looks terrible.
Yeah.
Frankly, I think they should all just ride the bus home anyway, but that's not for me to decide, but,
and last year was kind of the first year we implemented it too, so if they know ahead of time, hopefully they can do it like prior to the game, like, hey, I know
Yeah.
I can take these home and my parents can sign it, and I know I'm leaving with them tomorrow.
no big deal either way, I just was
Yeah,
asking.
it is a lot of paper. You
It
should see
is,
how much I had.
yeah.
And then in number 8, on page 8, I added in, so it says the violations, penalties, consequences that have not been served or carried over from season to season and or school year to school year will cumulatively throughout the student's career, including any code violations that transfer over from other schools, just so everybody's clear on that. So that is, yeah, but it's also in our code, so that no one can see anything else. And then page 9, under semester grades, we did the semester failing grades of 15 consecutive school days beginning on the first day of school following the posting of grades. So example, if someone fails second semester, we would wait until the first day of school for fall sports, and then it would be 15 consecutive days that they would be out and no contest. They can still practice, but they just can't participate, instead of the 20% of the season. And then we took out the 2 or more failing grades. So we just left it at pretty clear and concise of 15 consecutive days for a failing grade. Also on page 9, under D, we had in there regaining eligibility with summer school courses. However, we felt that anybody that had a failing grade from semester 1 didn't get that opportunity. So why was it okay for semester 2 failing grades to be able to get that expelled or expunged from them, but semester 1 you couldn't? So we felt it was fair to take that out. And then if you go to page 13, where it actually goes to our code violations. So we kind of revamped rule number 1. You'll see that we took out, so if you look under 2A that's highlighted, that is actually from our old rule number 1. I feel like anything that is nicotine related is still illegal for everybody in high school. So that should be under rule number 2. And then we revamped our conduct behavioral violations in that one rule group. Now, if it's your first offense, it will be a 1-game activity suspension. If it's your second offense, it will result in a code violation. So we're giving the kids a little bit of a learning curve for that. But also we feel it's fair because they might not be able to, they should not be penalized the exact same for something as a criminal activity, if that makes sense. Otherwise, we left 2 alone, and 3 is also the same as it was in the previous code. Page 14, let's see, yeah, page 14, the only thing we changed on there was under the 3rd violation, we just reiterated the fact of students will be suspended from all co-curricular activities for 1 calendar year from the date of the violation. Because sometimes it was unclear about when that actually started.
And then can I add too for that, the 3rd violation? So last month, when we did the handbook, I was asked, to not include that piece of the scholarships. So what we did is we took it out of both this and the handbook, and we input language for students to declare if they had any violations, if they're applying for scholarships. And that way the scholarship committee knows they may or may not consider it, but they at least have then that information to be able to consider with the applications for the scholarships. We just took it out of both.
And I know this wasn't, like, this has been in there. What's the logic for not allowing kids to practice in their 3rd violation? Like, if you were to allow students, even though they couldn't participate in any of the games, but if they were to practice with the team?
I think that's understanding of why are we giving this opportunity to a kid who might be taking away practice time from another kid who actually is participating in games or there to play and they're on good standing.
My long time history of often the kid who's suspended for a full year are not a good influence at practice and at games. It's best not to have them there. There are some kids, they'd be just great. I'm learning my lesson. I work hard and I'm going to be part of this. They're fewer than the ones who would be trouble on the team.
I get it, and I'm supportive of this. I'm always thinking about losing kids. You get that kid that made a bunch of bad choices, deserves this consequence, but you're now going to lose him. or her. And so that's just where my question's coming from. Like I said, I'm supportive of this as it is, but I just don't want to lose kids.
Oh, I get it. Page 15, we added in, under the reduction for the first self-reporting violation, for the reduction, we added in golf and trap under the one game with football. Those were not in there prior to that. And we moved volleyball, to 3 games, along with basketball, softball, and baseball. We also added in, an additional thing that I feel, is also very fair. If a student goes 2 consecutive calendar years without another violation, the first violation will be dropped. So that kind of proves that they're on the right track. And then it's kind of like the give back kind of situation. So we're rewarding them with, following the right path and maybe making some mistakes, but figuring it out as they go along.
And help me with the 2 years versus 1. I just feel like basically this only applies then to kids who make a mistake freshman year, right?
Freshman, sophomore year. I would hope by the time they're juniors that they would have it figured out by then. That's the, right, so we're not punishing, we're helping the ones that are freshmen, sophomore, that are still trying to figure it out. And by juniors, you would hope if you're a student athlete, you have some of that under your belt and are able to understand the consequences by then.
I'm assuming this co-curricular handbook is for the whole student body.
It's for middle school and high school.
Okay. I see that, when we start talking suspensions and stuff, it's golf, trap team, golf, basketball. What happens if a kid's playing basketball, he's in the band, he's in a FFA thing?
We're getting there.
Okay,
Okay.
okay.
Okay, so follow me to the activities violation, which is also page 15. So activities violation, this came up this previous year where a kid was in a sport and in an activity. So they did the consequences for the sport and they also did the consequences for the activity.
But what I'm saying is, if we're saying a certain number, what happens if he sits out a basketball game, he stays in the pep band and he just has to sit up on the stage? That's what they always used to do. If you had a violation, you had to sit on the stage, you just couldn't play. Okay, would that be 2, or was that still only 1?
They're separate. They're separate.
Okay.
So activities is separate from sports.
Okay,
So activities, if you see on page 15, it says the violations. First violation is a 30-day probationary period with the 15 hours community service to regain full eligibility.
Can I help with that?
Yes.
First question?
Yeah.
So what the problem that we run into is many of our activities are cross-content with their classes. So like pep band, part of their grade is showing up to pep band. For like our Skills USA and FFA, part of their grade, it's tied to their schooling. So we can't do the double whammy of hitting them academically by not having them participate in something that's a part of their class. It's not with all of the activities in the clubs, but that's what we are running into with some of the intercurricular activities. And that's why we pulled them out last year, or actually 2 years ago. Do you remember when we pulled those out 2 years ago? Because you're the one that spearheaded it.
We started that then,
Yeah, so I think it was 2 years ago. They've been separated out in 2 different categories now, I think for 2 full years. It might be just 1. Forgive me for not remembering when we pulled it, but.
when you start, in my opinion, if you're gonna start grading the pep band for playing at a basketball game, okay, say my son plays basketball, and he chooses to play basketball over the band, what's he do, get an F? Because he didn't show up for the pep band?
Students who are involved in another activity, for example, the sport, they're exempt from those games, they don't have to. If you play girls' basketball, I expect you to show up for the boys' basketball games. If you play football, I expect you to show up for the volleyball games, and so on and so forth. Unless you're playing both volleyball and football, but I haven't seen that yet.
No, I mean, for the kids that go every night, and then one kid doesn't go only half the time, it's hard for me to justify giving that kid that's there every night the same grade as a kid that's not there every night.
think that's still some,
It's the conundrum we run into.
Yeah,
discussion,
and I realize
with
you want the pep band to
intercurriculars,
play,
it's hard
so I mean,
to
you gotta, you have to do it, but
the best way to go about it.
to me, you have to be a little careful when you start saying you're gonna grade people on what they do when these kids don't do it. To me, that just, the wording has gotta be pretty careful there.
I have a question for you, Abby. When I'm looking at these activity violations, can you explain to me what exactly you mean by 30-day probationary? And then who gives out the community service?
So you have 30 days to get your 15 hours of community service and to regain full eligibility is
Oh, that's
basically
what
what
it
it
is,
is.
30 days
Correct.
to get in the hours. Okay.
Yes, and we give them, so Columbia County has a really good website that you can go to for volunteer hours, so I usually send that along in my email if I need to. Otherwise, the home health, any home health place takes community service hours. Mark Nicholson has done it at the female. Yeah, so as long as it's a supervisor of some sort that's signing off on these hours, somebody that I can connect with, make sure that this is legit, and make sure these hours are legit when the paper is turned into me, that's, yeah.
Do you think we could somehow, instead of community service, do school service?
We have
You got guys right here that could use work. Mr. Anderson could use work, I think, every single day. Could we
We do.
do something like, all right, 15 hours of community or 10 hours of school? Because that would just benefit the school so much more. Or do all school? I would rather see something to, if we're gonna, make these kids do community service, I'd like to see the school benefit from that. The school's punishing them for it. Let's get something out of it.
I have had, somebody ask if the rec department needed a youth sports coach.
Rec department?
So, yes, absolutely. As long as they're willing to do it. The thing is you need someone that's gonna commit to that and not just say they're going to, and then they don't show up. And then that puts us in difficult situations too. And then they have to go find it elsewhere anyways.
Well, if they don't
That
show
makes
up in
sense.
30 days, then they get their
Right. But if
their
we're,
violation.
so like I said, I've had people ask if the rec needed help or anything like that. And the Ryans have used them too, and.
Andrew Bryan's had students sweeping halls and painting, and actually a student who did violate, got community service for something that he did here, and he was put to work last summer volunteering, helping paint and clean up the school, so.
Sorry, going back one, this is just kind of an optional nit. We say all practices and stuff. Can we just add like unless previously excused?
And, I'm sorry, where were you at?
Like on the violations, we say you must attend all practices, all games. But the reality is sometimes you have a
Oh.
doctor's appointment or something,
Yeah.
so.
Yep,
um,
yeah. Absolutely.
Where is that?
On page 14.
Yeah, I know, what was it under?
It's
That's-
under the italics, like it just
Oh,
says.
In the note?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Because I agree with it. There's a couple times where people have excused absences.
Yep. Yeah, and if you want to add in there for the activities, violations, community service, or school service, however you want to word that in there. So I'd rather have them helping us as well. Makes sense.
I know a rec person who could always use some,
Absolutely.
I mean, you go up there and there's,
My cage needs some help.
they go wash the old football uniforms or do
Yeah.
something.
There you go. And then on page 16, under other consequences for athletics and activities violation, we took out first violation just because it didn't make sense, because it was assumed that that was just under your first violation, but it wasn't under your second or third or, consequences. So it just makes it more clear cut for everybody reading it. And then everything on 17 stayed the same through the appeal process, and 18 was also the same.
From my perspective, I appreciate all the work that went into this.
Yeah, we looked at, Columbus is a little bit more harsh. There's 3 strikes and you're out, basically. Randolph's was very helpful to kind of look at with how they kind of categorized.
And it was nice to have Maria come in that first day. We hit her up hard because they were actually there in the process of redoing theirs as well. So just getting that extra perspective was very beneficial.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I read over party bills too, and they just kind of revamped theirs as well, so that's where some of this came from as well. and it's just a collaborative effort. I wasn't here last year for this one, the one that was 24-25, so kind of a new thing, but it was good to get input from a lot of people, so. Yeah.
Great work.
Thanks.
Further questions for Abby?
No.
All right, well, I will then take a motion to approve the co-curricular handbook as presented.
I'll make the motion to approve the co-curricular handbook.
Motion by Nate, do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Seconded by Guy. All those in favor, vote aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes. We'll move on to 25-26 budget.
So there's about 5 pages worth here of the budget. This will be the same budget that we present at the annual meeting or early September. And at that meeting, I'll have another sheet that will give you like a 5-year comparison of a number of different data points. This is just the 3-year comparison of the actual budget. So that one you'll get a little bit bigger explanation back with Simmons. But this does include all the referendum spending is in here. The additional administrative position is in here. When we come to the annual meeting, we'll have updated a pupil count, open enrollment, and state aid, but this is all expected numbers are in here based on last year's expenditures, what we've seen from the state legislature and our revenue limit sheet. What the state legislature did do, if you've probably heard some of this, but they did up the special ed reimbursement, and they did up high-cost special ed reimbursement. They didn't touch the revenue limit, state aid per pupil, low revenue limit ceiling. They didn't touch any of those. Potentially, this is supposed to worry people about it's going to put more of a tax increase on the taxpayer, since the state did not increase state aid, because there is the by law 325 added to revenue limits. Now, what we will probably try to do is there will be an increase in the dollar amount for the tax levy. We're going to try to keep the mill rate as level as possible. Last year, the mill rate was $8.18. This one here, I'm projecting $8.01. I'm projecting down 17 cents, trying to drop the mill rate a little bit. Part of how we're using that is we over-levied for the Fund 39 debt issues the last few years. Now we're starting to use that to try to keep our debt, our tax levy fairly level, or maybe a little under what we told people during the referendum. I mean, we told them the referendum was going to be about 16 or 17 or 18, and we came in about that. If we can tell them, okay, the tax levy this year, mill rate will be lower than what has been the last couple of years, and it could stay fairly steady. So we'd be working with Andrea how we're going to use that fund balance from Fund 39 to try to level our mill rate, maybe at a lower number than it had been. It also helps us because we can pay off some of that debt for the for the capital referendum, bigger chunks early, so that there's less interest paying down the road. So we're probably using a little bit more of it, and I'll show you where that is on here too. So, the other things that we still have factored into this, the federal government, of course, there's questions about title money and special ed and Medicaid, and there's a lot of people very concerned how that's going to work. The cuts kind of stayed away from special ed, but some of the money that you hear is being withheld is title money. But it's not Title I, which is the majority. There's probably $45,000 we get of Title I money. Right now, they're saying we're not going to give you a Title IIA or 3 or 4 and those numbers. That's a total of $18,000 for Fall River. That's not a big chunk of money. I mean, 18,000 is 18,000, but it's not like we're going to have to cut somebody because of that. And that's still going to be argued in the courts and the federal government. I'm not going to worry about that until it actually happens. The Medicaid cuts that you heard about, they don't take place. They're not supposed to take place until after the midterm elections, which was good planning by the people who passed that. But so it's very likely that the Medicaid won't hit us in this budget cycle. It could possibly in the next budget cycle. So we'll see how that plays out too. That's federal politics that I'm not going to get involved in. We're just going to react when we find out what actually is going to happen and implement it then. So if you, the first page is mostly revenues for Fund 10. The second page in the middle, the total revenues are $8.44 million, and the bottom of that page 2, the expenditures expected to be $3.72. So there's the $70,000 difference that Sheeta gave you before. We have about 70. So our budget is expecting to have a surplus of 70,000 unless that gets eaten up for some good reason. Fund 27 has to balance. There's to be no fund balance there. The revenues and expenditures have to equal out. And the bottom of the third page, here's where we're starting to use some of that fund balance, spending that down, or down to the bottom of the fourth page, actually. The right column, you can see the beginning fund balance going into next year is supposed to be 1.3 million, by the end, 692,000. So when I worked with my friends at Baird, that was the expectation to spend about that much of the fund balance, and there's still about that much left to be spent in the next year or the year after to try to level our mill rates so people don't see a big jump or maybe even a little decrease in the mill rate, although the tax levy dollars will probably still go up. The last page, Fund 50, fairly stable. They had a big fund balance, 114,000. We were supposed to spend that down a little bit, and the state seemed to think we're getting into about reasonable. We probably will continue slowly raising the prices of meals. We did that last year by a little bit. We'll probably do a little bit again. And Fund 80 has been very stable. We don't see a big change up or down in that one at all. The other thing that makes me even more optimistic, I'm kind of an optimistic guy anyway, but we worried about that big senior class going out and who's coming in to replace it. Well, the 4K classes are pretty decent numbers.
17, 18?
Yeah, there's like 35 there. I mean, but the number of kids open enrolling this summer and ones moving into the district or not leaving the district anymore, it's a fairly positive sign that I'm not sure that we actually will go down in kids in the building next year. Even with that senior class leaving, it's encouraging right now. I won't know until everybody gets here, until who actually comes and doesn't come, but we were kind of worried, and our projections for this budget was based on we're going to have less kids. We might not, so to be determined, but Sue gave us a list of the number of kids opening enrolled in.
31 as of this, I had it in my update, so now he's starting to steal my thunder too.
Yeah.
So we had, as of this morning, we had 31 students either through open enrollment or current Fall River students that were open enrolled out coming in, so 31 new, and then I have, as of right now, 4 going out. Ryan's got 3 going out. So obviously registration, like Dennis said, isn't, until we open it up Monday, and we won't know till the third Friday count, but yeah.
These guys have been
super
like
excited.
tour guides going through, and
Everyone, like, incremented compared to what?
Yes.
Is that, I know.
the family of 6 didn't hurt.
No,
Yeah.
exactly.
They bought
We
a place
toured a
over
family
on
of
Community
6
Drive, I think.
early,
Monday.
last week.
So,
Is that Thursday?
we'll see what actually comes, but I'm not as worried as we're thinking how much our numbers in class are going down. We actually might go up, even with that senior class leaving, so I don't want to get too, but the potential looks good right now.
Potential's there.
It's not as bad as I thought it could be,
Yep.
because that was kind of pessimistic pupil count, because pupil count drives everything on that budget, revenue limits and aid and everything. So it may be better than I had projected in here. By September, we'll have a much better idea.
If that's the case, we're having a pizza party.
Just clarifying, in your Fund 39, that ending balance of 692, so that's what's left of the over levy?
Yes.
Okay.
So you can see the difference between those two is how much would get spent this year.
Yep.
And that's what would be left.
Okay.
And it's within a few $1,000s, because when you budget the calendar year and pay in the fiscal year.
Okay.
So it's not quite like Fund 38, you budget this year, you pay it this year, but Fund 39, it crosses over. We have to collect the taxes for next fall's payment before the new taxes come in. So we have to budget a little bit ahead, right?
That's correct.
She and I go through a lot of things right now.
All right. Any other questions on 25-26 preliminary budget? With not, I will take a motion to approve.
I'll make a motion to approve the 2025-2026 preliminary budget.
All right, we have a motion by Nate. Do I have a second?
Go ahead, Guy.
I'll second it.
Seconded by Guy. All those in favor, vote aye.
Aye.
All those opposed. All right, we'll move on to adoption of academic standards.
Every year in July, the schools have to adopt standards. Now, they inform our curriculum. You've done a lot of curriculum work, and Jennifer and Ryan have brought you curriculum-type things to adopt, but this is just the general standards that curriculum tries to shoot for. In the past, we've always said we're adopting the state standards for each of our academic areas, and then you've seen a lot of curriculum as we've gone through. So we're just asking you to adopt the state standards. It's just a law that we have to say what standards we're using, and we use what the state of Wisconsin suggests we use.
All right, I will take a motion to adopt the academic standards.
I'll make a motion to adopt the academic standards.
Motion by Guy, do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Seconded by Nate. All those in favor, vote aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? All right, we'll move on to administration and board goals.
So
We're still, so Jenny and I are still currently working on that as part of our board reports. We're working on our, sorry, just looking for it. Strategic planning. And so we started working on that yesterday a little bit more and looking at that. And we're trying to really get more fine-tuned on those different, we have the plan itself, but we want to get more fine-tuned on the action steps within that. So we're hoping that next month we can bring you more of those specific action steps. We have the overall kind of overarching.
So our 3 goals are the same as what they were last
Last
year.
year.
We just want to I want to be able to bring to you what exactly
For
It's gonna
this
look
year,
like.
what it's going to be action step-wise.
Well, I'm going to use that as air cover because I forgot my goals on the printer.
Perfect.
So, I did not get anything specific from the board, so our goal is to roll our goals forward. Obviously, a lot was with the referendum, a lot was succession planning, but we're kind of right in the middle of all that. So, but I will formally bring those to the next meeting unless I'm time sensitive on anything.
No.
No, okay.
I thought those had to be done this month, actually.
Give you my goals.
Yes.
The referendum, of course, implementing the referendums are the big goal for me this year, but the other goal is similar to as a parent. As a parent, your job is to work yourself out of a job, to teach them to be to responsible, gainfully employed adults so they can live their lives and don't need you. You can still be their advisor, but they can make their own decisions. They know what they're doing. So my goal this year is to work myself out of a job so my 4 children here know exactly what they need to do, and they're capable of doing it, and they can come to me for advice, and Dad will help them if they need help, but to work myself out of a job and make sure they're ready. What's that, son? Yeah.
All right, with that then, we will table administration and board goals. Obviously, thank you, Dennis, for giving yours. We'll move on to a seclusion and restraint report, which from the pre-read might be quick.
Yeah, it's gonna be pretty quick. We didn't have any seclusion restraints last school year. That tells me we're doing a good job of Jenny and I with our nonviolent crisis intervention, the training that we do each summer. I took time this week to get all 3 of us set up for training in August here for that. Again, it's a yearly training that we do. That means we're de-escalating kids before it gets to that point. And I also think we're doing a good job of placing kids where they need to be if they need additional support, both at the elementary and middle and high school level. I also think we're providing services to kids who may need more support that we as a district don't have in-house, and then we're able to provide those supports outside of the district, albeit at a cost, but it is what those students need. And so I think we're doing a good job of that, and I think it reflects in the report.
Last year was light. This year is empty, so
The
great
goal
job.
is to keep that report as light as I can, yes.
And I think a lot of the work we're doing culturally with our staff and our students is helping with that too, just recognizing the needs that some of our more challenging students have, and then learning to be more proactive with how we work with them and to adjust, or directly look at what those triggers are and help them out and help them grow with it.
Yeah, I'd agree. I think the teachers do a lot of that work where we don't even get called because they've already de-escalated it.
And the appropriate programming for some of our higher special education students.
Andrew, do I need a motion on that? No. Okay. All right, well, we will move on to district reports, and way too late, but welcome, Maria.
Thank
Now you're stealing my thunder. First thing, welcome Mrs. Kutzler.
She has no report anymore.
All right, I'll have a quick report. Hopefully I can steal some thunder over here. So things that, I was with a couple friends over the summer, and they kind of always joke about Mr. Verrier in the summer and what he must do. So it kind of made me reflect on my principal report this month. What do we do as principals in the summer? A lot of it is nuts and bolts and getting ready for the school year. Taking a lot of time this month to organize our curriculum materials, making sure we have what we need at the elementary level, make sure those resource numbers with the number of students that we have are in, if not, ordering more. So just trying to get all that lined up and working with the different vendors. We're also working on I think we've talked about in the past, with our curriculum review cycles, really looking at literacy and social studies. Towards the end of last year, took a lot of time to kind of determine what materials we're going to try to get. Now we've got some of those materials from different literacy companies that are state approved, and then also social studies, and then getting those in the hands of the teachers, and then getting feedback so that we can prepare for a pilot this coming school year, so that at some point we can come to you with a recommendation of potential textbook adoption. Dr. Treptow and I and Mrs. Hayden are working on the strategic plan as we talked about. Like Jenny said, our 3 goals remain the same, but obviously the action steps will change because we made progress last year. So now we're going to get together and then continue working on that. What do those action steps look like going into next school year so that we have a holistic plan for the year. And then I just want to thank Mrs. Hayden. She's been coming in, and staff. They've been coming in over the summer working with Kendra on curriculum, whether it's pacing guides, curriculum maps, whatnot. And then some teachers, we have the built-in contract days, but then some of them, Mr. Burr has approved an additional day, so they can continue working on those things so they can get those things done. So I've seen a lot of teachers in the building, and Mrs. Hayden's been a pretty big staple throughout the summer, and she's putting a lot of hours, a lot of work for us. I want to thank her specifically also. So that's my report. Any questions? All right, thank you.
So kind of piggybacking the extra work that Mrs. Hayden was doing, I just want to give, and I try to do this every summer, a huge shout out to our summer work crew, maintenance and custodial. They are really working hard right now, not only with helping us out with all of the additional referendum projects, but also getting the building cleaned, set up, ready to go. They really cooked through that high school hall right away, and they're doing a fantastic job. And I think it's really important that we acknowledge the hard work that they do every single summer, because this is definitely their busy season. Mm-hmm. And then I also would like to welcome Mrs. Kutzler. One of the things that I've been working on this summer since the last board meeting is just working with her with onboarding. She and I had a nice Culver's supper tonight, and just talked a lot about how much further ahead we already are because of the trust and the confidence that I, as the current building principal, have in her and her abilities. She makes me better, she makes our team better, and I am extremely excited to see what we're able to accomplish this upcoming school year with her on board with us. So thank you for that. I wanted to just do an update again. It doesn't have to be approved, but as Mr. Verrier was saying, the different teachers have been working on their curriculum with Mrs. Hayden. As they were working through that, what I asked her, in June to be the Ags Mechanics course, they would like to actually call it Power Mechanics. So it's just a formality. They're not doing anything different but changing the name, but I didn't want it to come back and be like, well, I thought it was going to be Ag Mechanics. So they are going to call it Power Mechanics instead of Ag Mechanics. And then the other thing is we neglected to add that PE credit that you had approved in November, I think it was, whenever we did the PE for the athletics in the student handbook. It's already board approved, so we don't need to go back and redo anything. Just know that we did add that into the student handbook so that it's available. We're practicing it. We wanted to make sure that they knew about it. And then that information will be going out to families in this month's newsletter. Mr. Verrier already talked about the strategic planning. And then was fortunate to do a walkthrough with, I think it's GAPA, is that how you say it? For our access controls for our classrooms. So Mr. Hartman and I did that walk around, and I think, Mr. Burr, are we bringing that next month for approval? Yeah, so our plan is to hopefully bring that to you, and that is coming in under budget, which is a good thing too. And then I wanted to let you know that I did receive a phone call from the Department of Public Instruction from DPI regarding a parent complaint about our health programming. I took about an hour and a half, maybe more, to walk her through our process that we went through for the review. I talked her through the curriculum and the lessons in question, and she did reiterate and thought that it would be a good idea for me to share with you publicly that what we are doing is well within the parameters of what we can and should cover within the framework of the health education standards for human growth and development. And then she did say we just need to make sure that we are over communicating the ability for parents to be able to opt out. So just so that you know that conversation did happen as well. I've been doing some CTE and counseling planning with Mr. Crombie during his summer hours. So he has his goals all set for next summer, and he's been working specifically with drafting letters to businesses to try to increase our partnerships. So that's one of the other big things that I've been doing. A quick PR thing, Inspire Magazine is doing a write-up on our comeback with our FFA program and our CTE edition. They are featuring Christine Lindner and her, the CTE supporters. So I did a interview with the reporter. I know Mr. Seichter did. I think Christine did. I'm not sure if anybody else did. I think that was it. But I think that'll be coming out in next month's issue. So that's a really amazing, just another PR thing for us. That will be one of the featured articles in that Inspire magazine. I'm pretty sure it's next month.
Actually, it's the cover story.
Oh, I thought you were gone.
No, I'm here.
Oh, hey.
That will be the cover. It's supposed to be the cover story of the magazine. So.
Yeah. Yep. So super excited about that. And just another positive thing that's happening. We did tour 2 additional families since I spoke with you last time. Last time I think I told you I had 4 in 1 week. We had 2 in 1 week. They were both last week. And then actually I spent about a half hour on the phone with a current Fall River resident whose daughter is looking to come back here next year, and she just wanted to talk with me a little bit about what's going on and things. So that might be another, potential positive even just from today. Already talked to you about the Mrs. Bents keeping us updated. And last but not least, our pet band is going to be performing again at the Dump in Cambria on August 5th. So if you are able to come support them, that would be awesome. Can I talk for another 3 minutes?
You're trying to win.
I know. That's all I've got.
Mr. Burke.
One of the things you've heard a little bit is they talk about a lot of people doing summer work here, teachers. You may remember that we shortened our school calendar a little bit this year by a couple of days, so the teachers have 2 less days during the regular year, so they're having 2 days to work in the summer. So every teacher's got 2 contracted days to be here this summer, clean the room, work with curriculum. So that's part of what's going on this summer that makes this a little bit different than others. At the end of July, I'll go into the WASDA Summer Legal Seminar they usually go to, and that usually you can bring back special ed and other kind of pupil things. Excuse me. Pupil things for these guys. The other thing is that I also met in here that I went to the National Federation of High School Athletics Association meeting in Chicago, heard a lot of different speakers, and heard about NILs. And, we had NILs in our co-curricular handbook today. There's really very little going on with NILs. We had a board members roundtable, and people all over the country, is not much NIL happening. There's a little case going on right now that WI is being careful about to try and make it very clear what's appropriate and what's not appropriate, but there's very, very little going on around the country. It's a pretty rare athlete that gets that, or it's fairly minor. But it keeps people out of lawsuits because if someone wants that money, they could go after that. We also saw the National High School Hall of Fame ceremony. They bring in a number of people, famous coaches who've done amazing things, and athletes who had great high school and even pro careers, like if you ever Prince Amukamura, he played for Nebraska and then in the pros, and Tim Dwight from Iowa, who went on to the pros. Those two guys had high school careers, not just in football, but in other sports too, that they were great multi-sports athletes. They were part of the people that got inducted. And maybe the most interesting thing that I heard is a session on mental health. And I thought it was going to be about mental health for the adults involved, but it was really talking about the kids. And the speaker talked about one of the main ways that mental health is challenged is overcoming adversity. People have things happen in their lives. How do you overcome this? How do you deal with this? How do you go beyond it to the other side? He says sports is a safe place to help learn how to overcome adversity. Because the main role in most sports is to make it tough on you, whether it's the pitcher against the batter, putting a press on in a basketball team. You've struck out twice, you got to come back the next time. Now I got a bat after striking out twice. How do you overcome adversity? And it's a safe place to learn it because you have trusted adults and teammates, coaches and teammates, helping you learn how to overcome that adversity in a safe environment. And you can possibly translate that to life. It's another life skill that people learn through athletics. So that was an interesting take on mental health and overcoming adversity. So every time now in a ball game I think about, how do you overcome this? You got to figure out a way to move beyond it and be successful anyway, to do your best. So I thought that was a very interesting thing that I heard. So.
All right, thank you. With that, I will take a motion to adjourn.
Can I say just one thing?
Go ahead.
I got a lot of nice, I'm lucky, obviously, I have kids in school, a daughter that's graduated, and one that'll be a senior. I got some really great cards, this year, from students, across the board, frankly. Really great cards from students that were actually at times, not that I'm saying I'm gonna cry, but, it was really great cards, from kids, some from graduations that I went to, others just random cards that I got as far as like thank yous, Mr. Feets, for being on the school board, for coming to my party, just really cool things. I actually have them, you can ask Natalie, I have them laying, actually next to my bed, because there's some really, really great ones. They're all great, but there's some that are like, man, oh man, they, the kids, I think they listen a lot more than they think, and they probably, I think they probably have their own opinions about what's happening down at school. In a good way, in a really great way, and not, social media and everything is so crazy. You talk about the numbers that we have at school now, not maybe being as bad as we thought it was going to be. There's a lot of people that don't want to use their voice, but hear the voices that are talking about the things that are going down at school, the positivity that comes from everything that we're, trying to do, the succession plan, talking about hiring an assistant principal a few years ago to now having an assistant principal, just all the really cool things that are done. And to have the cards to get the cards was really, really great. I think if there's one thing, so it's all of us, right? It's everybody that's on the board that makes it. It's just not Mr. Feets. I've thought about it. I've kind of said it out loud a few times. I really think that it starts, a little bit of it starts with the class representative that comes in and the senior, the senior person that comes in to do it. I think as a board, potentially, we should look to have an honorary member from from the senior class that's doing the reports to maybe sit here on the board with us the entire year, not because they get a vote, but because they listen. They understand exactly what we're all trying to do, whether they agree with it or not. I think they're an advocate that we could potentially use. If kids have questions, if parents have questions, kids talk to other kids. I think it's really something that we should think about doing where the class representative, or maybe it's not one of them would be interested in sitting down and then having a scholarship that they would get at the end of the year, if it's $500, if it's $750, if it's $1,000, as kind of a thank you that they can take towards their, they could take towards their education or whatever they're going to do potentially. Maybe they're going to go to work. Maybe they're going to go to a 2-year, maybe they're going to go 4-year, maybe they're going to be a doctor, who knows? But as a thank you that they get at the end of the year to, use towards something that they want to use it, educationally. Or maybe it's to, maybe they're not going to college, but they're going to buy gas with it, or they're going to, whatever that may be. I think it's something that we think about, having that spot. I think of the 2 students that we've had the last couple of years. But frankly, I think about all of them. They're all very capable of sitting up here, maybe not having a vote, but really listening, digesting, having a voice that they can use. Because I think just with the number of cards that I got, Mr. Feets, yeah, it's Mr. Feets, but it's all of us. I think I think that it would help combat maybe some of the things that that are said, or the things that we talk about, and why we get to those decisions. Can maybe sometimes be better said by kids than it can be by an adult. So that's just my 10 cents. Like I said, the cards were absolutely amazing.
My youngest son in Reedsburg was a student council president. He sat on the school board for a year. Can't vote because he's not elected, but he sat with the 7 board members every month, and he came home and told me what's going on in the school board, and I didn't know what's going on. I didn't go.
Well, I can tell you what, I think they could probably tell you what's going on in the classrooms too pretty well, right? So that would just be something, I think it'd be really cool. If the student council president doesn't want to do it, maybe there's somebody else, or maybe they have sports going on, or they have a practice, and we can work around it, Frank, or something. If it's only an hour, who knows? But I think it would be something that would be, it would give them a insight to what really goes on. So
I like it.
Would you think it'd be the same student all year?
I think to get a rhythm,
Yeah.
so that one's not picking up where the other one left off. Maybe you do first semester, second semester. I could see that. Split it into a couple of different $500 like scholarship, whatever it may be. But something that maybe comes from the school board, it's like a Fall River School Board scholarship. I don't know, but something thinking outside the box where maybe you could get a couple of different students involved in a year. I could see half a year being one and half a year being another. I could see that, but I think you want some consistency.
I agree.
So, yeah,
I can look
that's
into that. I like it.
So one of the things that I was talking with Kelsey about at the end of last year was going in, and we haven't worked out any details. It was just a conversation that I had with her about coming in, whether it was like quarterly or monthly, if they're meeting more often, to be able to, me as their principal, have that. So that could be the topic of one of the first times that I meet with them, is what do you think about this idea? How could we structure it so that you think it makes the most sense, because we're looking to entertain this, so.
Is there a couple of things that we could hit on each month from a board level that's also tied into student level?
Yep.
So the student actually has a voice as to, some of the things that we are voting on, or they think is important. We all have ideas of what we think is important. We all want it to go in a direction. I think as a board, as an administration, we're unified. I think, when parents do have grievances about things that are, that are being talked about or being used in school, for me to say that for me to respond to an email from a community member that I went, they have, and again, I agree with some of the things that they actually talk about in there, but when they went and talked to 269 people from outside the district, well, I am part of the district. I have kids in the district, and they all have friends. And, I've networked myself pretty well with parents and students who come to me for all sorts of different things. They have an idea of what the curriculum should be. You go in there, and I responded to an email like, listen, I talk to a lot of kids 99% of them agree with it. There were some kids that were candid about, about certain subjects and things like that, but, at the end of the day, I think that it could be used, it could be just a tool for us, for them, for administration, for everyone as a whole to kind of put your arms around it. So to have few subjects that mirror student council to school board, I think would be, fantastic. So, like I said, I've thought about it a little bit, but the notes started coming and I started getting envelopes and Heather's like, oh God, you're gonna cry again.
Now you know why we do what we do, Nathan.
No, well, I think, and again, that's even my role, even Nathan 15 years ago to Nathan now. Not that I've changed, or even Nathan,
Just to understand.
meeting Dennis Burr and being on the board and where I was then and where I am now, I think it's certainly humbling. I think there's things that, I thought were, Nathan was right, and then you kind of get into it, like, oh boy, but even teaching students that you don't always have to agree with something in order to get along, or, you're not always going to agree on everything, but you can respectively agree to disagree, but yet support the people that, that whatever side that is, if there is sides in everything, but yeah, that's my 10 cents. I was going to send an email, but I figured this was just as easy to say it and just be like, to the people, obviously, like I said, the cards were crazy good stuff, so. Yeah.
Thank you.
You guys will be old enough one time too when your kids are getting ready to graduate. And you're gonna, hopefully right, grandkids.
Grandkids graduate. Oh,
So,
God.
yes, so thank you for everything, you guys.
Thank you for your service on the board.
Support.
All right, thank you. I like it. All right, well, with that then, and 90 minutes still, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
We're gonna do a hard
I'll make a
stop at
motion to adjourn.
7:30.
All right, we have a motion by Nate. Do I have a second?
I'll second it, Jeff.
Seconded by Ken. All those in
I can
favor,
give you
vote aye.
4 more
Aye.
minutes.
Say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed.